you became quite aggressive. You hit her in the chest, started to hang her, which I assume is up against the wall with your arm across her throat, preventing her from breathing. And when she couldn't breathe, she fell on the bed and you threw the baby on the floor. So then you reached out on social media to the father of your ex-girlfriend's kids, his new girlfriend. You didn't even know her. Your choice to put your hands around the neck of your victim.
We are about to watch 3 different parole hearings for Connecticut men that all have one thing in common, and that is that they do not understand what a restraining order is. They do not understand how to respect their woman. They do not know how to keep their hands to themselves. Now, what's also interesting is that I think their parole hearings also have something in common in terms of how they communicate, what they say, how they interact with the parole board. It's almost uncanny, in my opinion. But with that, let's jump in and I'll unpack it at the end.
Peter Jonathan Holzer, 389402.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Peter Holzer, inmate number 389402. He is serving a sentence of 4 years followed by 4 years of special parole for violating a standing protective order, assault on a public safety officer. As of today, records reflect a parole eligibility date of May 15, 2025. There is no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows the offender has completed Tier 2 and domestic violence. He is currently participating in the Recovery Coach program with an estimated completion date of February 17, 2025. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score falls within a very high range of risk for recidivism. Mr. Holzer, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
I believe that I'd be a great candidate. You'd think you'd be hard pressed to find somebody who's taken their period of incarceration, their opportunity to recover more seriously than I have. Since day one, I hit the ground running. I realized that I had a tremendous amount of work to do. I didn't always know what it was I needed to do, but I've taken my days piecemeal, one moment at a time sometimes. I've never had a ticket this entire incarceration at all. I've never had any behavioral issues. I've worked a 7-day-a-week job the entire time I've been incarcerated, so 2.5 years now, minus the amount of time that it took me to transition here to Carl Robinson from Cheshire. I spent my first 2 years at Cheshire working in the kitchen. I did the Tier 2 program at Cheshire to address the substance abuse component of my recovery process. That's very important to me. I do something every day for that portion of my recovery. I've been drinking for a very long time, and you know what? I was under the impression that if I stopped drinking that my life would be perfect, but in reality, I'm now understanding that that's just not the case. But in order to give myself a chance, I do have to abstain from drinking alcohol for the rest of my life, bottom line. The program was useful, but even more useful than the program was probably what I've been doing on a daily basis, talking to guys about recovery, going to AA and NA groups, really living the lifestyle of somebody who doesn't want to drink anymore and is willing to do whatever it takes to not drink again. Probably more impactful of the 2 groups I took at Cheshire was the DV course. It's my second time taking it. And the first time I took the DV course, I think I suffered from selective hearing because I was really more tuned into what I felt like I was the victim, and I felt like I was more in tune to what I felt was being done to me in the relationship with my wife. And I wasn't really picking up some of the finer details, like the role I was actually playing in the codependent and toxic relationship that I was playing a major role in. And unfortunately, probably the biggest thing I learned and the most impactful was that my domestic violence with my wife was actually having a tremendous impact on my kids that I never wanted it to. I didn't realize that it had anything to do with them because the fights were always between me and my wife, and they were never with me and my kids. But my kids were watching this stuff, and I realized that domestic violence now is cyclic, and these traits and these fights and these arguments and all these negative mannerisms and emotions that I was displaying were being passed along to my kids, and they could potentially pass that stuff along in their future relationships. And I'm deeply sorry for that. In fact, I've strived to be a much better father in the future. My wife and I have since divorced, so that marriage unfortunately didn't work out, but that's not going to stop me from being a fantastic dad to my kids and being available to my kids in the future, because that's something I'm definitely very intent on doing. I'm very interested in their development as people. I had an opportunity after doing 2 years at Cheshire to transfer to Carl Robinson to attend the Recovery Coach Academy. Since I've been locked up and since I've been sober, I've started to kind of dream again. And I spent a long time in the communications field as far as work goes when I haven't been incarcerated. And I found that doing the substance abuse, addiction services work is very fulfilling to me. And the Recovery Coach Academy was like a natural choice. I want to work with people. I want to help. I want to be put in a position where I can be of service to other people. And maybe after I get out of here, I'm looking at doing addiction counseling. But the first step would be to take this course. And I think next week I should be graduating as a recovery coach facilitator. So I plan on getting with CCAR when I get out of here, whenever that is, and picking up, at the very next step, doing that. But besides that, I've just kept it moving, haven't gotten in any trouble. I have tried to make amends where I can with some of my family and friends out there. And at the end of the day, no matter what the decision for the parole board is today, I do need a place to transition. I would really value the opportunity to maybe go to a halfway house or something like that. And when I did my parole interview, I realized something. They asked me a lot of different questions. And one of the questions was about my assault on a public safety officer. And I didn't realize at the time that I had been kind of minimizing that whole component of my sentence. Like, I was focused on the substance abuse, I was focused on the domestic violence, and those are very important things, but I didn't realize that I had been minimizing my involvement in that. And I really felt like, well, the officers assaulted me, I didn't assault them. But the reality of the matter is, had I not have been drinking that day, I probably wouldn't have been in that position, true. But I also took them on a wild goose chase. And these guys have a very important job to do. And the last thing they need is me running around Bridgeport, chasing after me, tasing. I got tased, and I know I was unruly that day. I was drunk and wild. And I'd like to apologize if anybody's listening today for that behavior, because that's a ridiculous behavior, and I was completely in the wrong. So I have to acknowledge my role in that. It was highly inappropriate. And I can tell you this much. I'm deeply invested in my process of recovery, and I will absolutely continue to do my best. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Holzer, for that opening statement. You certainly covered a lot, and you answered some of the questions and concerns that I had. I wrote on my list of questions here that I really thought you minimized as well. So I'm glad that you addressed that. And, you were on probation at the time for another domestic. So I also had the question of, well, you've taken the program before, what happened? And you answered that as well, that you really didn't take it seriously and you didn't absorb the information the last time you took it. So,
I loved your comment about selective hearing.
Selective hearing, yeah. I mean, we appreciate the honesty.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you an alcoholic, sir?
I am in recovery.
Yeah. Right. Okay, so glad you're able to accept that now so that you can work on it, right? You can't work on something that you are in denial about and don't know exists. You mentioned your children. Are you in contact with them?
My two youngest ones, no, because of the domestic. This
Right.
facility won't let me have contact with them. However, the judge did lift the protective order. I still have the shell of the protective order: do not threaten, stalk, harass, or assault. But as far as me having contact, I can do that after I'm out of the DOC. And I look forward to doing that. My two children in Florida have constant contact with them, and everybody's really excited about my potential to come home sometime this year.
Oh, good. And do you have family who's in contact with your younger ones?
Yes, my two oldest children in Florida.
Oh, the older,
They're
right,
20
right,
They're
right.
24 and 22 respectively.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, you've taken great programs, you've been working, you mentioned all that. 7 prior failed community releases is concerning, you know, at 43, it certainly has taken you some time to kind of see the light, right?
Yes, ma'am. Here's what I feel. I feel like I'm an evolutionary product, and this process of recovery for me has looked different than maybe some other people's, and it's been very challenging. And I understand the only way this can happen for me, the only way I have any chance at this process is if I do not drink, and that doesn't even guarantee me success. Success. I look at this process holistically. I have a lot of areas in my life that I need a lot of help with. I need to please transition to like a structured environment so I can continue addressing some of my needs. I don't have a driver's license, for example. It's suspended because of fines and fees I owe in the state of Florida. I know if I get into the field of human services or social work or addiction counseling, a license is going to be a requirement. That's just one of the many things that I have on my plate. In addition to that, I would really like the opportunity to, continue to make amends with my kids and show my family and friends that this is absolutely possible. I've never been sober this long in my entire life since I turned an adult. I have 2.5 years and counting right now, and I feel great.
Okay.
I just take it one day at a time.
Right. So how do we stay sober? Do you have a recovery coach for yourself?
I do. His name's Brian Rollins out of New Haven, CCAR.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right. And your plan is to go to meetings?
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to be firmly ensconced in the CCAR recovery environment. He has everything set up, so upon my release, whenever that is, I'll be going to CCAR. I'll be going to meetings there. I will be volunteering my services, and eventually they will hire me as a recovery coach. I look forward to taking the recovery coach professionalism and ethics classes next.
How long are those classes?
That's probably going to be a 10-week thing if I do it in here, but to my understanding, if I do it out there, it's going to be a total of 5 days. Those are much faster than the ones I've been taking in here.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I certainly hope that you can remain sober. I'm sure that will eliminate. I'm looking at your criminal history. It's so lengthy, but it looks like it's all, substance related. So if you can control that and really focus on staying sober, then hopefully you'll be successful. What about work? What are your plans for work? Well, other than CCAR.
Well, you know what? As far as work is concerned, I'm going to take pretty much anything that comes along with CCAR in mind.
Okay.
They did tell me that based on my aptitude, my ability to connect and communicate with others, there is an opportunity for me to just start working for them right away. I would love to get a job in a tech position at a local recovery facility, like a rehab or something like that. There's a place called the Retreat on El Grasso in New Haven that I was originally hired at before I got these charges. I was hired as the case manager for a 160-bed facility, so I know there's opportunities. It's just going to be about me putting the applications and trying to find these opportunities. I'm confident I'll find something really cool.
Okay. All right. Thank you for speaking with me. Ms. Turner?
So, Mr. Holzer, you sound great today.
Thank you.
Yeah, sobriety becomes you.
Yes, ma'am. I agree with that statement.
Yeah. However, the domestics were incredibly serious, and I'm not sure how much, whether you've read the police reports and how much you're aware of what you were doing and saying at the time, because I know the details indicate you were intoxicated. But, in doing my due diligence and making a decision about whether you're suitable for release, back in July of 2020, when you had the incident in Bridgeport with a victim at your home, you became quite aggressive. You hit her in the chest, started to hang her, which I assume is up against the wall with your arm across her throat, preventing her from breathing. And when she couldn't breathe, she fell on the bed, and you threw the baby on the floor. And you told her that no matter how long you're incarcerated, when you're released, You will cut off her head, disembowel her, and end the children. You aware of this?
That is the police report. I am aware of that. I don't agree with everything that's said in the police report, but I will say this. I was way out of control that day. I had been drinking. We had a really harsh verbal argument. I did make threats that I did not mean at the time. I regret saying those things. I have really had to learn how to communicate. I was raised in a house where that's how we communicated. And I realize right now that that is not the way to communicate. The children were present that day. They seen everything that went down. That's not only embarrassing, but when I learned that it's the domestic violence is a cyclic thing, that the kids will pass that on to my grandchildren or in future relationships, that's really disturbing stuff, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I didn't realize
really
it was making
does.
that big of an impact. And I'm really sorry for what I put my wife through too. I told my wife that I was in recovery when we got married. I don't think she knew what she was signing up for. I have been a tyrant at times. I've not been the nicest person. And I don't really feel this is a reflection of how I feel today. But the reality is I can't run from my past. You know,
Yep.
I'm in the position, I have a really simple mantra, ma'am. I believe that God has a plan for me, and that plan is good. I believe that I don't have to be defined by my past as long as I'm willing to acknowledge it and learn from it. And I believe recovery is possible for everyone, and myself included. And I'm
Yes.
really firmly committed to that.
I'm glad to hear you're committed. I agree with, that it's possible for anyone, but it does require work.
A lot of work.
And as you go out into the community, and it will be this year because your end of sentence is September, you do have 4 years of special parole.
Yes, ma'am.
So, they will set you up with a halfway house. We'll set those conditions today. I ask you to appreciate, Mr. Holzer, when you begin to interact with your ex-wife because you want to see your children.
Yes.
That a tremendous amount of trust has been shattered.
Yes.
And she's been traumatized by statements that someone who's in a position in her life to love her and to raise children together would make those kind of threats. Now, I get that you say you were intoxicated at the time, but it doesn't erase the mental scars that those kind of graphic descriptions put in somebody's head. So, she will have contact with you. It's a partial order. But if there is any point at which there's tension and or conflict, go to court and arrange legal visitation with your children. Because you have to understand that the victim, I would imagine, has some level of fear of you. Because this kind of stuff doesn't just go away, just like you're saying, you carry it with you, and she does as well. So you have to respect where she's coming from, because even if you don't remember saying these things, she heard them. She was restrained. She was having trouble breathing. She was worried about the children walking in the room and seeing this. So, there's that history that you can't erase, but you have to respect in terms of going forward, co-parenting in a healthy way in the interests of your children. And I hope at some point as your children grow up that you will find opportunities and make the time to talk to them about the choices that you were making when they were very young, and work to apologize to them and teach them a different way to be in relationships with people that they say they love.
Absolutely. And moving
Thank
forward,
you,
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chance.
I have no question.
Sorry. Yeah. All right, so give us a few minutes to discuss your case and we'll come back to you shortly with our decision.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so these are very serious offenses, of course. And his criminal history is quite concerning when you take a look at it, but he has taken good programming. he has explained why, the why of all of this. It appears that this is the most sobriety he's had, 2.5 years that he's been incarcerated, which is something. I think he has a good release plan, and he has some new tools and some insights that he didn't have prior to this incarceration.
And clarity.
Yeah, definitely clarity. He does have 4 years of special parole to follow sentence. So he's eligible in May, and he'll discharge to his special parole in, looks like, early October. At this point, that might change to September. But anyhow, I would be willing to give him the extra few months before he starts his special parole, discretionary parole. Ms. Turner?
I agree. It's a grant for me. It's a 4 months difference.
Right.
And things like not having any DRs, holding down a job, engaging in positive programming, coming before us with a relapse prevention plan. These are things that, make me, put me in a position of feeling like it's an appropriate decision to give that head start before he begins special parole.
Okay. Ms. Chan?
I agree with everything that's said. I'm in favor of that.
All right, so let's see, conditions. I have victim JD without PO's permission, domestic violence program in the community, no alcohol, a halfway house. Anything else?
No, those are the things before
All right.
that I have.
Thank you. In the matter of Peter Holzer, MA number 389402, on Lucha grant parole effective May 15th, 2025, with the following additional conditions: no contact with your victim, initials JD, without your parole officer's permission. Domestic violence programming in the community, no consumption of alcoholic beverages, and parole to a halfway house. Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. All right, sir, you have been granted. We wish you the best, and use your special parole to your advantage, right? Get all the help, the services, and the support that you can. It's their job to help you. So we wish you the best. Keep working.
And I need all the help I can get. So I thank you guys very much for this opportunity. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
This concludes the hearing for Peter Holzer, MA number 389402.
Okay, and they granted. And, there's not much to unpack in this hearing. There's really no information. Holly wasn't able to find anything, and that's kind of typical for these type of cases. Now, we do have his record where he has going back, and Connecticut only shows 10 years, but he has many breach of peace, threatening, failure to appear, reckless endangerment, and these are over different years, different time periods, larceny, interference with an officer, many violations of probations. It just keeps going on. It's like a history of repeating itself. And as one of the parole board members said, I can't remember which one, sobriety looks good on you, and it does look good on him. And look, I believe a lot of what he's saying. I believe that he grew up with violence in his house. I believe that he is probably when being sober would not be doing these things. But there's one thing that I just can't get out of my head, and that is that those who have this type of jacket, who have this type of violent offenses, one thing that they seem to have in common is that they can be incredibly manipulative. They can be remarkably charming and articulate, and they can pull the wool over everyone's eyes, especially their victims, until it's too late. And I don't claim to know the right answer. How you handle something like this? Do you give, he seems to have done a great job in prison. He seems to check all those boxes, but I don't know. But again, I don't have much to unpack with this, and I hope he does well. We'll be watching him. If he comes back, we'll play it on the return of playlist. But let's just jump into the next hearing, which is quite similar. And let's see, let's see if there are differences. So with that, let's jump in.
Jordan Johnson, 432-681.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Jordan Johnson, MA number 432-681. He is serving a sentence of 15 years, execution suspended after 3 years, followed by 5 years of probation. He counts of violating a standing criminal protective order. As of today, records reflect a parole eligibility date of April 22nd, 2025. There was no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows the offender has completed Alternatives to Violence basic and advanced workshop. Voices, Anger Management, Tier 2, and Domestic Violence. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score falls within the moderate range of risk for recidivism. Mr. Johnson, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
I wrote a letter for you guys.
Sure.
You guys, mind if I read it?
Go ahead.
Okay, so to the members of the Board of Pardons and Parole, I want to start by thanking you for the opportunity and the chance at early release. During my time of incarceration, I've had a lot of time to reflect and have come to the realization that the behavior I was exhibiting was toxic, hurtful, and traumatizing to my victim, their family, friends, and my loved ones as well. I want to first and foremost take this opportunity to take full accountability for my actions and to sincerely apologize to the victim and everyone that were affected by my selfish behavior. Through this time incarcerated, I have learned many things about myself through intense institutional programming, education, and self-reflection. Since my time incarcerated, I have completed all my offender accountability plan requirements, including Voices Program for Victim Impact, Domestic Violence, Alternative Violence Program, Alternative Violence Advanced, Anger Management, and Tier 2. In these programs, I have learned about addictive behaviors, effective coping mechanisms, healthy communication habits, de-escalation techniques, and conflict resolutions. Through my time incarcerated, I have been able to recognize how having an active addiction has contributed to many negative choices and has led to me having to be accountable for my poor behavior. There hasn't been a day that I have not solemnly reflected on the impact my behavior and choices have had on my victim, her family, her friends, as well as my loved ones as well. As I conclude, I sincerely hope that this board can see the permanent changes I have made while incarcerated. 4 months of working in the kitchen with the good work report from my direct supervisor, being enrolled in the vocational village building trades program, a good work report from my dorm officer, a solid reentry plan, including concrete employment, private therapy for emotional support and counseling, and regular inmate meetings in my community as well. And regular inmate meetings in my community as well, and love and support from countless family and friends. I am asking this board to please consider the work I have put in since being incarcerated, and to please give me this second chance, this opportunity to being a happy, healthy, productive member of society. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your statement, Mr. Johnson. We have some questions for you, and when we're done, we'll deliberate amongst ourselves and give you our decision. We'll begin with my colleague, Ms. Turner.
So, Mr. Johnson, was your statement in part saying that your active addiction is why you committed these crimes?
I mean, I just know that I wasn't making the right decisions being under the influence, seeing how my thought process is today. And I just know that that was a big role in the actions I was making, because how I see life right now is I wouldn't have done the things out of respect of the court's decision, and I was acting out of character.
Well, you have protective order violations that go back to 2021. Was that with a different victim?
Yeah, that was with my ex-girlfriend.
So now you have two victims that have protective orders, felt the need to go to court to get a protective order against you because of the way you were treating them.
Yeah, my alcohol use and substance use. I'm not making no excuses, but I lost my nephew, and when I lost my nephew, I kind of went up a roller coaster, and I'm not making.
Yeah, well, a lot of people, experience losses like that, and then, relapse or pick up substances, but they don't then beat their partners.
Absolutely.
So, now you have a protective order against you, I see, to the year 2031. What does that mean to you?
That means to me that I have to respect people's boundaries and I just know that going forward, I'm not going to make them same mistakes that I made before coming into incarceration. And I mean, I learned many tools throughout this program.
The question was, what does the protective order issued by the court mean to you?
It means to me that I have to respect the court's order.
How will you do that?
By focusing on my future and what's going to be best for me, and just trying to make the best out of my life going forward.
Well, specific to the order, you're not to have any contact, correct?
Oh yeah, absolutely. No contact at all. I'm totally in a different direction now.
Okay, well, but you know, we need to be clear because here you are in front of us for 3 counts of violating a protective order. So I need some assurance that you understand what that means for your behavior going forward. And you've contacted the victim in the past through third party, through social media, and by text messaging. Do you understand that all of that is prohibited by the order?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yes, I do.
Okay, well, it's good that we have a shared understanding. So if you come back before us and say, well, I didn't know I couldn't, you know, have my mom call her and ask her not to report me to the police for violating the order, which happened.
Mhm.
Okay. So then you reached out on social media to the father of your ex-girlfriend's kids, his new girlfriend. You didn't even know her. What were you doing?
I don't
What
know.
did you hope to achieve?
I have no idea what I was thinking on making them decisions, and I'm really remorseful to the victims and whoever I impacted in these situations. I know how I think today and the direction I'm heading in. I know I would never put myself in a situation like that going forward.
Well, I hope so, because I'm counting 6 now convictions for violating protective orders. I just can't even imagine what it was like for this woman who'd never met you to be getting text messages because she's dating the father of your ex-girlfriend's kids. I mean, it's crazy. So you have had a problem with cocaine in addition to what else?
Alcohol.
Okay. And in the past, you've done AA and NA. What is your relapse prevention plan? I know you're still in tier 2. When do you finish that?
Yeah, I just finished on Wednesday. This past Wednesday, I finished tier 2.
Okay, so you must have a good relapse prevention plan. Tell me what it is.
And my plan is to get an IOP if I'm granted parole. My plan is to get an IOP and stay around recovery, because I know I can't do this by myself. And I know when I was doing NA and NA meetings in the past, I had a long period of sobriety, and that's my main thing. Like I need to stay clean to get to where I need to in life and to achieve what I want to. Like I have big plans when I get out of here.
Okay,
and for my
one thing at a time, Mr. Johnson. We're still on your relapse prevention plan, and all I've heard from you is IOP and stay around recovery. I need some specifics.
NA and AA meetings, be around positive influence people. My boss is someone I'm planning on. He's like a mentor for me, and I look up to him. And
is he living in recovery?
No, he doesn't have
Okay, so we're sticking with the relapse prevention plan. So are you in a place where you're going to build a network of support in the recovery community?
Yeah, I'm planning on starting counseling, getting into counseling for like emotional support and just have someone to talk to about my situation. 'Cause I felt like I really didn't have no one to turn to, and everyone was coming to me for support. So
You have your mother in your life, which is, fortunate. You've got this boss who's a mentor to you. So how did you not have people to talk to?
I was at the time I just I felt like at the time they were telling me what they wanted me to do, and I just felt like they were nagging me at the time of my addiction, and I just kept like turning my back.
So you wanted to do what you wanted to do, which was to keep using and try to get this person to stay in your life, and you weren't focused on anything healthy. Is that right? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I was in a bad place before I came in here.
So have you ever heard of 90 and 90?
Oh yes, I have. My father done that in the past, and it was very helpful for him. And I was planning on doing that too. I just gotta work it around my work schedule, but I talked to my boss, and
There are meetings all times of day, 7 days a week.
Yes,
Do you know that there are
absolutely.
different kinds of meetings? Like there are speaker meetings, there's all male meetings, there's step meetings.
Yeah, and I know there's meetings on virtual like meetings too. I got told, so I'm looking to get back into that also. Just so like I said, so I can stay around. So I can hear people's stories and get like people that in recovery get new like positive friends. Like I know I can't hang around with the same group of friends I was around before. So I'm looking to like ask for help. 'Cause I don't ever want to experience this again.
Do you know about the 12 steps that the NA and AA are built around?
Yes. Yes, we were going over a little bit of them in tier 2.
Great. Okay. So it's more than just sitting in meetings, drinking bad coffee and listening to other people's stories, but you actually need to be working on yourselves.
Absolutely.
So your boss's letter to us, in addition to offering housing and a job, which is incredibly generous, described you as a positive influence in the community. What did he mean by that?
So I basically did the hiring for his company. I'll have people from the community, friends, and people that are looking for work. I'll get them work and keep them busy, keep them out of trouble. And I was doing this flag football league when I was clean, and I'm looking to get back into all that stuff. I'm looking to I like helping people. So I like how that feels, like land in the hand for somebody and trying to better their life. I get a thrill off of that. So
What are your priorities, Mr. Johnson?
my priorities is to sorry, I'm just a little nervous, but my priorities is just to get my life together and my plan is to start my own business. And I feel like I have a real strong foundation right now. So and just being around like this positive support that I got in my corner right now, and I'm realizing the support I have while being incarcerated. Like I haven't talked to no old friends. I've been just in communication with my boss.
So we're going back to priorities. So you have long range goals, which is, to start your own business. But when you hit the door of the prison, what are your priorities?
I hit the door. All right. So my priorities is to get all my paperwork. I'm working on getting my paperwork together before I leave, like getting my ID, my birth certificate, getting all my paperwork that I'm gonna need to,
Documents, yeah. Mhm.
all my documents. That is that, and to my priorities is to go in the community and just find out where meetings are, get like a schedule, have a structure. I mean, I have. get
I'm
like a
gonna
set
suggest,
schedule for
Mr.
myself.
Johnson, that if your recovery really is a priority, you have that information before you walk out. You've got,
Okay.
you've got reentry counselors there in the facility. You've got CCAR in the facility. You've got a tablet. You know, you should know where that first meeting is and how you're going to get there.
Absolutely.
I
I
would-
talked to I talked to my boss, and he doesn't mind me starting the IOP and whoever's gonna keep me clean and for I can be the best that I can be at work. And so like I mean I feel like I'm in good shape to get right out to get in the best. I'm sorry, I'm like choking up on my words, but I feel
It's
like I'm
one
in the
day at a
best.
time, Mr. Johnson. One day at a
Yes.
time. Don't get ahead of yourself and then spiral. You know, you need to keep your focus on your priorities. And I'm hoping your recovery is number one, but I haven't heard you say that yet. So you did the Evolve program?
Involved program, the alternative violence program.
No, Evolve out in the community. It was 52 weeks. You did that program?
Oh, yes, I've done that
Okay, and now
program.
you've taken domestic violence there in the facility. And you're going to need to take domestic violence again when you go out, whether it's to parole or probation. Can you tell me what you understand a healthy relationship looks like?
Being understanding when people want their space, respect that. And
Boundaries, healthy boundaries.
Healthy boundaries.
Heard you
like I
say
said,
respect.
open line of communication, understandings. People
Yeah, you already
understand.
said that one.
And
What about trust? Are you able to
Oh,
trust
yeah.
people, Mr. Johnson?
yes, I can.
But you know, if you're in a relationship with somebody and you're worried that they're cheating on you to the point that you feel like you need to go through their phone to find out, there is no trust. So
Yes.
if you're in a relationship without trust, you need to make other decisions. If you're not with someone you feel you can give your trust to, then you need to get out of the relationship. Because you can't control that other person's choices.
Yes, completely.
Yeah. Okay. Because then if you do, you have no respect for them.
Yeah, I feel like
And
if
you have
don't,
no boundaries if you're going through somebody's phone because you think that they might be cheating on you.
yeah, absolutely. I feel like if there's no trust, there's no relationship. So if
So I can move on.
yeah, absolutely. I'm not looking to through this time in incarceration, I really haven't dealt with no females and what the judge told me, if you don't mind me sharing this, what the judge told me before I came into jail on my sentence date, she said, Mr. Johnson, I want you to, and it stuck with me. She said, Mr. Johnson, I want you to love yourself. That's something I wasn't able to do last time I was home. And if I can't love myself, I won't be able to love nobody else. And my main focus is just to get myself where I need to get myself established before worrying about any relationship.
Well, part of loving yourself is to address your problems with addiction, because oftentimes that lack of self-love is and insecurity is what fuels the retreating into substances.
Yes, I totally agree.
I hope you have it figured out, Mr. Johnson. They've pumped just about every available program into you. And you've done pretty well with this incarceration. I'm disturbed to see you got an assault ticket, not a fighting ticket, you got an assault ticket just last July, which is nonsense. But you gotta ask for help when you need it. And you gotta keep your focus. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. Ms. Chance?
So I'll just do one follow-up questions because my colleague asked the questions that I had. So, Ms. Jordan, you had a good job in the community. And you were recommending people from the community to get jobs where you are employed. But yet you were violating the protective orders. So when you were in court, the judge said to you, it's as if, you're two different people. And so he suggested that you need to learn about yourself. Is it that you learned about yourself that you didn't love yourself? Or was it because you were using alcohol and drugs, as you mentioned earlier? Or both?
It was both. I was going through a hard time, and I'm not making no excuses for that. I was chasing the wrong things, like I should, what I'm trying to set my mind to is do what gets me the motive to be a better, productive member of society, and that's staying in, like I said, staying in recovery. That makes me feel good. Helping people out, that makes me feel good, and just doing what's best for my future. And I know the judge told me I'm really remorseful from not respecting the judge's orders at the time. Having these clear thoughts that I have today, and seeing the direction like I want to go in and direction I'm heading in. Like I'm happy. I felt really good about myself. It's been so long since I felt this way, and I hate to admit it, but this is what I needed. I needed to step away for a little while to get reinsurance in my life, and to see what direction like I really wanted to go in, because I'm getting older and I can't keep wasting time. Just trying to do whatever to better myself going forward.
But more importantly, Mr. Jordan, you have very good support system where you work and with your family. You just have to learn to respect other people when they say no or they're not interested in it.
Absolutely, yes. And
So,
I've learned many tools in these programs to help me out when I get back in the community. There's a lot of de-escalation techniques to walk away, to talk to somebody. Just to do whatever to better myself. Focus on myself. Besides
and the one concern that I have, and I hope it will go away, is that you got that assault ticket after you did both anger management and domestic violence. So hopefully you're going to revisit those techniques that you learned.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yes. At the time of that incident, I really tried to get in the way. I was like cornered, and I felt like I was going to get hurt at the time, and I take full responsibility of the actions that I caused. But I felt like I had to defend myself at that time being. I really felt like I was going to get hurt, and I know I made a mistake fighting back, but,
Not a mistake, Mr. Jordan. It was just a poor decision on your part.
yes, a poor decision.
Yeah, so you might need to go back over those anger management and de-escalation techniques that you learned about how you could have gotten out of that.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Well, good luck and thank you for answering my questions.
Thank you.
So,
Okay, Mr. Johnson, give us a few minutes to discuss your case and we'll come back to you shortly with our decision, okay?
Okay, no problem.
Ms. Turner?
So Mr. Johnson got just 3 years to serve. He has 12 years over his head when he goes out to 5 years of probation. It was 1 year for each violation of the protective order. And he's been incarcerated now for a year and 2 months. And his eligibility date is in April. So this would give him a year and a half of discretionary parole supervision. He's taken the positive programs, but as Ms. Chance pointed out, I'm not sure how much he's used what he's learned. I would point out that the assault came even after alternatives to violence, advanced and basic. So he's got a remarkably solid release plan. I hope he does have a commitment to his own recovery and living clean and sober out in the community, or the supports he's got are going to fall away. So I would be willing to grant discretionary parole today for those guardrails as he transitions back after this first period of incarceration.
Thank you. Ms. Chance?
and I know it's seeing that he hasn't done so well before, but I would be willing to support that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's put in some work and I do hear some change and some insight. So I agree. What are your conditions, Ms. Turner?
No alcohol.
Yeah.
Behavior management for domestic violence, and no contact with the victim, initial CL.
Okay. Anything further, Ms. Chance?
What about the other?
No.
Okay.
None of it. All right. Okay. In the matter of Jordan Johnson, amendment number 432681, I'll move to grant parole effective April 22nd, 2025 with the following additional conditions. No contact with your victim, initial CL, domestic violence programming in the community, and no consumption of alcoholic beverages. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Fine.
Aye. All right, Mr. Johnson, you'll have some parole and then 5 years probation. So continue to work on yourself. We wish you the best.
All right, thank you very much.
Sir.
This concludes the hearing for Jordan Johnson, inmate number 432681.
And we'll take a 5-minute.
Okay, and they granted, and their reasoning behind it as well. He has a support waiting for him, and if we keep him in longer, then maybe that support will go away, and we want to give him the highest chance of success. But again, it does seem I guess one weird thing that stuck out to me was that he has an assault charge in prison, or an assault write-up, and that is very rare for these type of cases. Usually these guys, they don't pick on anybody their own size, right? So that is interesting. And but the boxes that he checked before is very articulate and charming, makes you feel like, and even the judges said, you're one person here and you're one person there. And it's a violation of protective order things that terrify me, and maybe they terrify you as well. Remember, this was not one violation of protection order. This was not two. This was three reported before the judge finally said enough is enough. And this guy knew he was given so many chances. He knew if he were to violate it again, he would get locked up, and yet he couldn't control himself. And let's be real, there are no number of programs that will change a person's wiring. I don't believe in the program thing. I just don't. Like, people are not in prison because they never opened up a book and said, oh, this guy, it's not like he's uneducated. It's not like he doesn't have the ability to to be like a person. Like he was just lacking that training. No, he's clearly a highly functional person that and just reading a few programs, taking a couple of classes is not going to fix him. And then you hear, well, it's only when he's drinking, and I don't know if I buy that. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. But the idea again that he didn't have a whole plan when he was to get out, it's a huge red flag. When you're taking yourself seriously, when you identify that drinking's a problem and you're at your rock bottom and you want to get fixed, you would have that figured out. You would know exactly where your AA office is. You would have your 90-90 plan because you're doing it for you. You're not doing it to get paroled. You're doing it because you realize, holy crap, I'm messed up. Like, I have a problem. I need to fix this. I don't get those vibes. I just don't. And the parole board, they're just like, again, I think it's a thing. They just kind of want to let you out. They want to let folks out. And remember, this guy, he had, again, and thank you, Holly, for dropping in the information. There's no news articles on him. It's a common name, but we're just looking at the records here. He has breach of peace, 2nd degree. Again, and these are the 6 months jail, suspended, even though that was a violation of probation. He has assault 3rd and violation of probation, and it seems another violation of probation, a violation of protective order in 2019, 1 year jail but suspended, because they keep suspending the sentences. Violation of probation, blah blah blah. Another, but basically what they said, 3 violation of probations where they gave him 5 years jail, but they suspended all of it except for one. So he has 3 years, basically 1 year for each one, and that's okay. A judge should do that. We haven't heard from the victims. You can only imagine a victim is traumatized by this type of scenario, and now it's possible the victim's just too afraid to talk, or it's possible they weren't notified. We see time and time again where they are not notified. Connecticut's a little bit chaotic with parole hearings. Sometimes the parole interviewer doesn't even get notified until we've seen a week before. We've seen where they claim 5 days before. So if they're not getting notified, maybe it's possible the victim's not, or maybe they didn't open up their mail yet, or maybe they're out, so anyways. But there you have it. And if anyone does return, we will play it in the return on playlist. But for now, let's go to the final and third parole hearing for the day.
I have your full name, sir, please.
Demetrius Lark, 411496.
This is a rehear being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Demetrius Lark, inmate number 411496. He is serving a sentence of 10 years jail, execution suspended after 5 years to serve, followed by 5 years of probation. For larceny first, 2 counts of assault third, strangulation, suffocation third, engaging in police in pursuit. As of today, records reflect a parole eligibility date of June 24th, 2024. There is no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender, and since last year, we have completed domestic violence and voices. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score falls within the high range of risk for recidivism. Mr. Lark, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you should be granted parole. You may begin.
Good morning. Well, good afternoon. I'd like to start by saying thank you for this opportunity. I know parole is a privilege, not a promise. I came here around this time last year. I got shot down. I completed all the programs that I was told to do, domestic violence. I did voices. I participated in Narcotics Anonymous on Mondays. Did domestic violence, but I said that already. I did fatherhood. I completed multiple job things. I had 3 jobs. I still work in recreation, gym worker. I had 3 jobs since up and down. I remained ticket free for the last 2 years. Upon my release, I still have the same plan. Chance probably remember, probably not, but I look forward to being an electrician, go to school, pick up a trade in electrician. CDL is my backup plan. I got a good support system back at home, my 3 children. I'm just looking forward to be released in the community.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lark. So we do have some questions for you. When we're done with our questions, we'll deliberate and give you our decision here today. You've done this before, so you know how it works, right? Okay, where are we? Ms. Turner, thank you.
Okay. So, thanks, Mr. Lark, for that opening statement. So all of us are new to you. We weren't on your previous panel. And I'm glad to read that you've taken the programs. Can you tell me, let's start with the domestic violence program. What did you get out of that program? Was it your first time taking it?
Yeah, it was definitely my first time taking. I gained a lot of things from taking it. I would say.
Okay,
like,
well, hold on. Definitely, we don't know that because you might have been assigned to that program out in the community on supervision because you have 2 DV victims, two women you victimized. Okay, so what did you learn?
I learned, take a breather, the breathing exercise. Main thing I learned that, when committing those type of crimes, everybody has an impact. It's always a victim impact. So deal with trauma, physical abuse, trauma.
Did you figure out, Mr. Lark, why you're abusive towards your partners?
Around the time, I could say I was dealing with a lot of grief. I had lost my father. I was going through a lot of things.
Well, people do experience grief in life, and loss of our parents is a big one, but we don't necessarily then abuse our partners. So why do you think you made those choices?
I could say I was young and I didn't really know how to channel my anger then, but during my time of incarceration, I learned how to, gain control of myself and not lash out on others because of what I'm going through.
Did you learn anything about strangulation in the program?
Physical
How serious
abuse.
it is?
It's definitely serious. Physical abuse, it causes severe trauma on the victim. To
Right,
this
but
day.
specifically, your choice to put your hands around the neck of your victim. You understand how serious that is?
Correct.
Okay, so in our state, we have a statute specific to that act because through decades of research and interviews with victims, the risk for death increases when someone is willing to put their hands around the throat of another human being because you never know how much or how little pressure could kill them.
Correct.
And then after you cut off their supply of air, if you release and allow them to breathe again, meanwhile, in their mind, they're thinking they're going to die, that causes injury to the throat area, including internal injury. So just like any kind of bruise, there's some swelling, and that swelling hours later can cut off the victim's ability to breathe. So, the fact that you'd be willing to put your hands around the throat of your partner is a big indicator of high risk to actually kill that person. So it's important to appreciate the seriousness of your actions and the potential consequences, which with this particular crime are lethal. You know what that word means?
Correct.
She was pregnant at the time, right?
That's correct, man.
Mm-hmm. So these are really concerning choices that you were making out in the community and why you got 5 years to serve. You'll have 5 years of the sentence hanging over your head when you go out to probation. So you took the Voices program.
Correct.
Is there something that you want to say by way of an apology for the harm that you were causing out in the community?
Yeah, I take full accountability for my actions. I'm definitely remorseful, and I apologize to the victims. I apologize to the police departments. I apologize to everyone that's taking part in this. People that I've harmed physically, emotionally, abusively. I take full accountability for that, not remorseful for my actions.
The reason that it's important to sit with those feelings of, discomfort, embarrassment, shame, disappointment in yourself is because those feelings will inform the choices that you make next time,
That's
right?
correct.
If you're uncomfortable with feeling ashamed that you would assault your partner, then feeling that shame will hopefully guide your decision making the next time you feel frustrated, angry. What does a healthy relationship look like, Mr. Lark?
A healthy relationship, I believe a healthy relationship is all about happiness, just enjoying life with your partner, building a bond that's unbreakable.
Life isn't all, roses and kisses, right? They're hard times. And, hopefully if you have a healthy relationship, you can rely on one another to get through some of those difficult times. So do you have a hard time trusting your partners?
No, not at all. That's not really, no.
Do you ever take your partner's phone and go through it and look at who they're texting and
No,
who they're calling?
I've learned in domestic violence, that's called cyber abuse.
Yeah, but it's a red flag that you don't trust the person.
It's controlling behavior.
Yeah, well, you're controlling because you think if you ask them, you're not going to get the real answer. You go digging, right? And then you violate their boundaries and their trust in you. But if you don't feel like you can trust someone, then it's time to move on. Okay. All right. What about respect? Is that important in a relationship?
So a key factor in a relationship: respect, trust, and honesty.
There you go. That's what I was looking for in terms of healthy. If you have those, then you probably do have happiness with your partner.
Sure.
Something to build off of. So tell me about the police pursuit. Why did you make these choices?
Honestly, I was scared. I was already on probation at the time, so I made a bad decision.
Well, you took a situation, and by the actions you chose, you made it so much worse.
I've endangered people while doing it.
Yeah. And that's part of what we're doing here today is making a decision about whether it's appropriate for you to finish the 1.5 years you have left on this sentence out in the community under parole supervision. And we have to make that decision in light of the interests of public safety. And we have a lot of challenges on our roadways with people driving, recklessly and, endangering other people on the roads, driving impaired, driving distracted. So, yeah, these are concerns. And, you score out high for your risk to reoffend. And you have, not a lengthy criminal history, but you're headed down that path if you don't make some corrections. Why electrical engineering?
That's just something I've been interested in for the last 3 years.
What sparked your interest? No pun intended.
I'm not sure. I had talked to somebody in here. He just told me you'll like it. So I took a little interest in it. He said I could make some good money for my family, support my kids. I just took an interest in that. want to do what's best for my children so they don't end up in a situation like this.
So your oldest is in California.
That's correct.
Your youngest is with the victim in this case. And the middle child, you don't have any contact with him, right?
No, man.
So your son with the victim is 2 years old?
He's 3 now.
3. So you proposed a mother-in-law. Who was she?
That's my youngest son's mother, Tiana.
Okay, but she's one of your victims. So you want to go live with her mother?
If the chance
I don't think that was welcome. So you're looking at a halfway house?
That's correct. Stipulate to happen.
So you took the fatherhood program, which I'm glad about. And I just want to say, and then I'll wrap it up here, that your son, all he's had these years you've been incarcerated is his mother. She's his rock, right?
That's correct.
She represents his sense of safety in the world. So when you come out, if you disrespect her, you harm him directly. You know, you need to find a way to have healthy communication in the interests of your son. And if it's only about your son, that's fine. But you need to appreciate that she's there. She's doing everything for him while you're sitting in prison. So, you know, she deserves your respect when you get out because she's carrying the load. And if you show her any less, then all that does is hurt your son.
Sure.
Okay. And it won't raise you up in his eyes 1 inch. Might not show it when he's 3, but he'll figure it out fast enough, right? Yeah.
Correct.
So be a positive influence for him in any way that you can. So I'm sorry you think this sentence was too much time. I think it was absolutely appropriate. You needed to reset. You needed to have to sit and reflect on the harm that you were doing in relationships and in your community. So I wish you much success going forward, Mr. Lark. Keep your head on straight, and I hope to never see you again in the best positive way. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Chair.
I just have one question. So, Mr. Lark, you said before you took the current programs that you thought you had an attitude program, and now after completing it, that you have a complete change in attitude. Can you explain what you mean by that?
I would say when I came in, I was younger, you know, I didn't have any guidance, you know, like, as I told you, my father passed away. I don't have a male role model. All I have was my mother and my children. So I would say, like, for them, I changed my attitude. I don't deal with anger. I don't react off of emotion anymore. I don't lash out on people because of what I'm going through, as I said earlier. So I feel personally my attitude has changed. That's how I remain to stay ticket free. I haven't caught in no fighting tickets. I haven't done anything violent my whole incarceration.
And what do you see as a high risk for you when you're back in the community?
High risk. Only I could make myself a high risk by entertaining the things that I've done before. If I go back out there and I do the same things that I did when I was already out there, of course I'm going to be a high risk because I'm going right back into the same pattern. I have a plan now. Before I didn't have a plan. I was just getting out and just going right in. I didn't have a plan. Now I have a plan. that I gotta execute. I want to execute for the sake of myself and my children.
Okay. And yes, I do agree, your plan seems to be a good one. So good luck.
Appreciate you.
All right, Mr. Lark, give us a few minutes to discuss your case and we'll come back to you shortly with our decision. Ms. Turner.
So Mr. Lark keeps saying he has no disciplinary issues this incarceration. But I'm looking
He
at,
does. Does he mean, do you mean prior to your last hearing? I mean, do you mean since your last hearing?
I've been ticket free for 2 years. My last hearing, I was told to be DR free for a year.
right, okay, all right, but you did have two prior,
Prior to that, yeah.
okay. All right, I just wanted to clarify
Yeah.
that because I
Yeah.
wasn't sure. So, so Mr. Lark is here on a rehear, has been fully compliant with what the prior panel recommended. I'm hearing some insights and some tools that he has to work with going forward. And some sense that he assumes responsibility for the choices, the bad choices that he was making out in the community. He has special probation to follow, and I think he could really benefit from the support of parole as he transitions, since he's done a number of years of this sentence inside, and I'd like to see him have that level of support, especially because he doesn't have a valid sponsor at this time. So that's where I'm at.
Okay. Ms.
I
Jones?
agree.
Yeah, so do I. Okay, what do you have for conditions?
No driving,
Yeah,
no alcohol.
Yeah.
Domestic violence,
Mhm.
halfway house,
Mhm.
no co-defendant, Antoine Henry,
right.
and no victims, TE and TT.
Thank you. Did you have anything for that?
No,
Yes, okay.
not the same.
In the matter of Demetrius Lark, amendment number 411496, move to grant parole on or after today, February 10th, 2025, with the following additional conditions. No contact with your victims, initials TT or TE, domestic violence programming in the community, you're paroled to a halfway house, no driving without your parole officer's permission, no alcohol consumption, and no contact with your co-defendant, Antoine Henry. Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do you understand everything, sir?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
You'll
very
get it in
much.
writing. We wish you the best. Keep working on yourself.
Appreciate
Keep
Thank you.
focused, sir.
Thank you.
Hearing from Demetrius Lark.
Okay, and they granted, and we actually I recorded and watched his prior hearing from a while ago. I didn't mold the two together, really, frankly, because I don't know. It wasn't that eventful, but I could have done it, could have not. But Holly brought in the different crimes for that he's locked up for, and it's kind of interesting that the parole board member would be like, you don't have an extensive record yet, but I mean, he kind of does. So here's kind of in reverse order: choking his pregnant girlfriend over a missing phone. The Connecticut man reported that he was charged with third-degree assault of a pregnant woman, third-degree strangulation, criminal impersonation, interfering with an officer, disorderly conduct, second-degree failure to appear. Lark and the victim were staying at the Extended Stay America Hotel in Norwalk when the alleged incident occurred. Lark and the woman were in the hotel room around 4 a.m. when he became angry that he could not find his phone and blamed her for it. Isn't that great? It's like, you're going to go and do that. The police are called and you get to go spend the day in jail. It's just a great way for things to go. And then there was another crime here where he tried to steal a Maserati. So this is 2017. He goes to the Miller Motor Cars in Greenwich at 8:45 p.m. I mean, that's like an interesting time to try to steal a car, isn't it? When the car alarms went off, Greenwich Time reported. Instead, Lark took off in a Lincoln Town car that had been reported stolen out of Stanford at the time. An officer in an unmarked car saw Lark on Livingston Place and started pursuing. Lark went through the stop sign and traffic light before eventually turning into a dead-end street, according to Greenwich Time. Lark then tried to run, but the police chased him down and took him into custody. And they say that he also threw out a fake gun while he was in the middle of that robbery. And I guess he's lucky that he didn't get even charged with more. We just covered a hearing out of Louisiana where a woman did a robbery with her boyfriend. Her boyfriend had a BB gun, and she didn't have a BB gun. She was just with her boyfriend who had it, and the judge gave her 20 years, and it was her second felony, and it wasn't 20, it was 20 years without parole eligibility. Okay, so she was having a hearing, not parole. She was having a commutation sentence, asking the parole board to say, please let me have parole eligibility. So it's interesting how different states do different things. And now, let's be real, what they did to her, that judge did to that woman, I think was barbaric. From what we saw, she did not have a long record. Again, it was her boyfriend with a BB gun. You shouldn't give 20-year sentences for something like that, but they did it. And in this case, you just kind of get a little slap on the wrist here and a little slap on the wrist there. And part of why they do it, in my opinion, is that Connecticut, when you research Connecticut and Department of Correction and recidivism rate, and they will talk about, they will brag about on their website. Mike Pohl will tweet about this. Okay, I've seen it in Mike Pohl's Twitter account. We are exceeding in our incarceration rehabilitation programs. We have the lowest incarceration rates of the next 10 states. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, it's like they created a program that they now have to create the data, the results to say that it's working. And that's my opinion. That's why I think parole's given so often, and why the system, they want to be able to brag about how brilliant their system is compared to other states. And it's just, in my opinion, a bunch of BS. Because we see it time and time again, and we'll see, out of these 3 parole hearings, and it really wasn't that interesting. Let's be real. I'm kind of wondering, was it worth the time? I spent 3 hours putting this together. Probably not, right? But did it, and we'll keep track. Let's see. I think what could be interesting here is we'll see which of the 3 come back on a revocation. If none of the 3 come back, hey, then I was wrong. We could just call it out for what it is. But if all 3, we'll get the point. Let's see, 1, 2, or 3. How many of them are going to come back in the next 12 months? And we'll revisit it. We'll put it in the return of playlist. We'll take flashbacks to the past, and we can say, we called it. Or I'll be called out, and I'll be happily wrong. And with that, I'll let you go.
You became quite aggressive. You hit her in the chest, started to hang her, which I assume is up against the wall with your arm across her throat, preventing her from breathing. And when she couldn't breathe, she fell on the bed, and you threw the baby on the floor. So then you reached out on social media to the father of your ex-girlfriend's kids, his new girlfriend. You didn't even know her. Your choice to put your hands around the neck of your victim.